Welcome to Talk Stories. This week's gonna be slightly different when it comes to story relation. All these stories are viewer submitted. Please go check out the authors. Their links are in the description. I know they have more stories you would love. Some are fantasy, some are satire, some are too close to the truth. So, without further ado, here is Story 1. A Symphony of Ice, Fire, and Blood by Relic. Light detonated beneath his boots as harmonic energy slapped the ice with cannon crack force. Every step shattered the frozen ocean in starburst fractures, shockwaves racing outward in perfect rhythm with his heartbeat. He thrust the radiant broadsword forward, a killing line of light aimed straight for Kuragami's heart. The frozen ocean did not yet know it was about to die. Sir Aurelian Vale stood alone upon the vast ice field, boots planted at the edge of a fault line glowing faintly with imprisoned fire. The wind was still. The sky hung low and iron-colored, as if the heavens themselves were holding their breath. He raised the violin. The first note unfurled like a living thing. It was a monstrous and beautiful sound, too vast for mortal throats, and trembling with grief, valor, and ancient defiance. The bow drew slowly and deliberately, and the air bent around it. Ice sang in answers. The distant glaciers moaned. Beneath the frozen ocean, lava stirred, its glow pulsing in time with the melody like a buried heart remembering how to beat. Each note carried weight, history given voice, empires fallen, gods bled, knights buried without songs. Aurelian's fingers bled almost immediately. Red beads froze to the strings, becoming part of the music. He did not flinch. Then the harmony shifted, the overture darkened, warped, descending into something older, more serpentine. The melody twisted, its beauty curdling into prophecy. The wind returned. From the horizon rose Mount Gore, its black peak spearing the sky. Thunder rolled, not from clouds, but from footsteps. Each step struck the air like a drumbeat of doom. Boom, boom. Kuragami Ashenvale descended from the mountain's spine. With every step, the base of the world deepened. The ice shuddered. Fault lines crawled outward in terror. Lava surged beneath the surface, answering his approach like a loyal beast. As he walked, voices rose from temples, cathedrals, ruins, and blood-soaked altars across the land. Priests fell to their knees, their prayers tore free from their throats and were carried on the wind. Thousands of voices merging into a colossal, trembling orchestra. A chorus of fear, of knowing. Their words braided through the storm. The underworld is opened. The coil stirs. Nagini has breathed again. The name struck the world like a curse. Kuragami stopped at the edge of the shattered ice, his body half shadow, half death. Burial sutras fluttered from his limbs. Black god ichor pulsed through translucent veins. His eyes were hollow gates, and something vast stared through them. The god of the underworld has returned me, Kuragami said, his voice layered and cold. Nagini coils within my soul. Sir Aurelian, let the final note linger. Then he stopped playing. The silence that followed was absolute. He reached up and slid his blue steel helmet down over his face. The visor locked with a solemn click. sealing his eyes away from the world. Light caught on the ancient runes etched into the metal, glowing faintly in resonance with the violin still humming in his grasp. "I will do what must be done," Aurelian said, voice steady, final. "I will send the wretched back to hell." He stepped forward. The bow drew once more, fast, sharp. The violin screamed. Light erupted around him as the instrument collapsed inward, strings snapping in sacrificial harmony. Wood and sound folded into steel, reforming into a large, elegant broadsword. Its blade radiant with swirling bands of harmonic light. The air bent around it, frost melted, ice hissed and cracked beneath his boots. Kuragami's lips curled into something almost like a smile. "You will fail," the undying shadow said. The ocean groaned. The ice began to split. Kuragami Ashenvale stood with his arms outstretched. The air buckled around him. Black god ichor rose from his skin like smoke pulled backward into a storm. Burial sutras ignited, burning without flame, their symbols peeling free and orbiting his body in slow, blasphemous spirals. Beneath the ice, magma surged violently, answering his presence as if recognizing a master. Nagini stirred. The demigod power unfurled, not all at once, but like a serpent stretching after a long sleep. Gravity warped, sound bent the sky above Mount Gore, darkened, clouds spiraling inward as though drawn toward a single hateful note. Sir Aurelian Vale did not hesitate. He charged. Light detonated beneath his boots as harmonic energy slapped the ice with cannon-cracked force. Every step shattered the frozen ocean in starburst fractures, shock waves racing outward in perfect rhythm with his heartbeat. He thrust the radiant broadsword forward, a killing line of light aimed straight for Kuragami's heart. Kuragami split, not dodged, not leapt. His body unraveled into 3 overlapping shadows, slipping sideways through the instant between sound and silence. Aurelian's blade carved through empty air. And suddenly they were face to face, inches apart. For one impossible heartbeat, Aurelian saw it. The endless black coil behind Kuragami's eyes. The god staring through the corpse. Then Kuragami was gone. Aurelian felt the cold behind him a fraction too late. Kuragami reformed at his back, heel already descending. The impact crushed ice into powder and hurled Aurelian forward. He skidded across the frozen ocean, sparks of light screaming from his armor as Mount Gore answered with thunder. Above them, the tune changed. The heavens filled with a violent thunderous hum, gods humming, a bass note so deep it rattled bone and memory alike. Mount Gore became a colossal instrument, its volcanic veins glowing brighter with every reverberation. And they came. Priests emerged along the fractured ice, dozens, then hundreds, appearing as if summoned by the music itself. Some wore gold, some wore rags, some bled from the eyes. All knelt in perfect symmetry. They opened their mouths. The orchestra of the gods began. Voices layered upon voices, prayers woven into sound so dense it pressed against the skin. The air shimmered with belief, fear, and devotion. The fight became the center of the world. All eyes were upon them. Kuragami lifted one hand. Dark demigod energy exploded outward. A wave of underworld force slammed into Aurelian like a collapsing mountain. Ice shattered in rolling walls. Entire sections of the ocean split open with the deafening cracks, revealing roaring rivers of lava below. Aurelian was driven backward, boots carving trenches, armor screaming as pressure crushed against him. He skidded toward the edge of a massive rupture, heat licking upward, molten light painting his armor in hellish orange. One more step and he would fall. Kuragami advanced slowly, laughter crawling from his throat, low, hellish, layered with Nagini's ancient amusement. "You cannot stand against death made flesh," Kuragami said. "You are only a song." Aurelian planted his foot. The ice beneath it froze solid again, responding to his will. He raised the broadsword and strummed it. The blade sang. A violent chord tore through the battlefield, harmonic energy erupting from the sword in blinding arcs, light crashing forward in screaming waves as Aurelian surged back into the fight, moving faster now, every strike a note, every step a part of the composition. He struck Kuragami once, twice, 3 times. The blade bit into shadow and bone, carving glowing wounds across Kuragami's torso. Underworld ichor sprayed into the air, hissing as it struck ice and fire alike. Aurelian pressed the assault, slashes like crescendos, thrusts like killing refrains. The sword howled with every movement. Kuragami staggered and laughed. The laughter deepened, echoing across Mount Gore, splitting into harmonics of its own. Dark energy surged from his body, knitting wounds shut, swallowing the light mid-strike. Nagini's power coiled upward, forming a translucent serpent of shadow and smoke that wrapped around Kuragami like a living crown. The next blow from Aurelian struck the barrier and stopped dead, the blade screaming in protest. Kuragami grabbed the sword, his hand burning, flesh charring, but he did not release it. "You play beautifully," Kuragami whispered, eyes blazing, "but the underworld knows only one ending." He wrenched the blade sideways, the ice beneath them shattered again, and the world tilted toward ruin. The blade screamed, not metal, reality, when Kuragami wrenched the broadsword sideways. The sound tore a seam through the air, space folded like wet parchment. The ice beneath them did not crack this time. It forgot it was solid, collapsing into shards of past and future all at once. Time skipped. Aurelian was falling, then standing, then already bleeding. Moments collided. His heartbeat echoed twice, then 3 times, out of sync with his body. Around them the frozen ocean flickered between states. Pristine ice, shattered ruin, boiling steam, cycling faster and faster, as if the world could not decide how this battle should end. Above, the music changed again. Mount Gore howled. The gods' hum fractured into dissonance. Thunder rolled backward, lightning striking upward into the clouds. The priest's orchestra broke into counter-harmony, some voices rising in exultation, others screaming as their throats split under the strain of prophecy. This was no longer a fight. It was a composition tearing itself apart. Kuragami released the blade and stepped back as Nagini's powers surged fully into him. His body expanded, shadows stretching, bones elongating and cracking under underworld sigils, burning themselves directly into his flesh. A spectral serpent uncoiled behind him, vast, crowned, and endless, its body looping through the sky, its scales made of screaming souls. "I am the hand of inevitability," Kuragami thundered, his voice now layered with divine resonance. "I'm the silence above and after the final note." He struck the air, the sound and strike landing. Invisible force slammed into Aurelian, pulverizing armor and flesh alike. His body was hurled through 3 seconds, reappearing mid-crash against a wall of ice that had not existed a moment before. His ribs shattered. Blood exploded from his mouth, freezing midair in crimson constellations. The ice gave way. Aurelian plunged down past fire, down past light, down toward the roaring magma below. He caught himself at the last instant, fingers digging into the floating slab of ice. As the lava surged beneath him like an open maw, his sword trembled. The broadsword's light flickered, weakening. Above him, Kuragami hovered now, feet not touching the ground, shadow bleeding outward like ink dropped into water. The serpent of Nagini loomed closer, its head lowering, its eyes ancient and amused. "You are emptying yourself," Nagini spoke, voice everywhere. "Every note costs you existence." Aurelian coughed blood and laughed, a broken, defiant sound. "Then listen," he rasped. "I only need one song." He pulled himself up, slowly. Pain became rhythm. Every shattered bone beat time. His blood soaked into the ice, glowing faintly as it froze, forming runes he did not remember learning. Above, the music shifted once more. The gods hummed, softened, lowed, became solemn, a funeral tempo. The priests understood. One by one, they pressed their foreheads to the ice and sang louder, pouring their faith, their lives, their fear into the harmony. Some collapsed mid-verse, some burst into flame. The orchestra did not stop. Aurelian raised the sword with both hands. The broadsword began to unravel, light peeling from it in strands, wrapping around his arms, his chest, his throat. The blade shortened, thinned, becoming less weapon and more instrument, strings of radiant energy forming along its length, vibrating with unbearable tension. Kuragami's eyes widened. "No!" he snarled, lunging forward. "You will not!" Aurelian struck the ice with the sword, and played. The note detonated outward, not as sound, but as law. Gravity reversed, lava froze mid-surge, hanging in the air like molten glass. The serpent of Nagini screamed as its coils were dragged backward through themselves, reality snapping and recoiling with thunderclap violence. Kuragami was lifted off the ground, his shadow torn from his body, stretched into impossible angles as harmonic light pierced him again and again, each strike erasing not flesh, but meaning. Memories burned away, names screamed and vanished. Nagini roared as the battlefield itself began to collapse inward, the frozen ocean folding like a closing book, pages of ice slamming together with world-ending force. Aurelian screamed as well. The song was killing him. His armor shattered, his flesh split, light burned through his veins, consuming muscle, bone, and soul. He could feel himself thinning, becoming sound, becoming echo, but he did not stop playing. "One ending!" Aurelian whispered through blood and fire, a voice breaking into harmony with the gods. "Only one!" The final note began, and the world leaned in to hear it. Kuragami struck first. A spear of condensed underworld force tore upward, catching Sir Aurelian Vale square in the chest and launching him into the sky. The impact sounded like a god's rib cracking. Armor burst apart in radiant fragments. Blood atomized into red mist and froze in its rose. Aurelian spun end over end above the battlefield, the broken world wheeling behind him. Splintering ice, suspended lava, Mount Gore screamed thunder into the heavens. As he fell, he reached for the broadsword. His fingers plucked a single string. The sound was thin at first, then it deepened. Light engulfed him. Harmonic fire wrapped around his body in spiraling bands, burning away pain, burning away fear, burning away what remained of the man. His silhouette became a descending star, a living note dragged, screaming back toward the earth. Below, the priests rose as one. Across the shattered ocean, atop broken ice and crumbling stone, they lifted their voices together. Gods joined them, ancient, forgotten, wounded, singing not in rivalry now, but in unity. The orchestra became absolute. Creation itself took a breath. Aurelian fell. He struck the ice with the force of a dying sun. The shockwave was colossal. Ice vaporized for miles. Lava was driven back into the depths like a beaten beast. The sky split with blinding white fractures, thunder collapsing inward as the sound rolled outward in concentric rings of annihilation. At the epicenter stood Sir Aurelian Vale and Kuragami Ashenvale. They met head-on. Aurelian moved first, a blur of incandescent motion. He slashed left. The strike tore a visible crescent through the air, the shockwave lagging behind the blade like a delayed scream. Kuragami's shoulder exploded into shadow and bone. Underworld ichor sprayed outward in burning arcs. Aurelian slashed right. The second shockwave collided with the first, crushing the space between them. Kuragami staggered as half his torso unraveled, the serpent sigil of Nagini screaming as it peeled away in molten fragments. The god's song climbed higher. Aurelian charged. He flashed forward, time collapsing into a single unbearable instant, and delivered the final strike. The blade passed through Kuragami's chest, through his spine, through the coiled authority of Nagini itself. Light and shadow detonated together, tearing a vertical wound through the battlefield. Mount Gore's peak shattered, the frozen ocean folded inward. The underworld screamed as its god was cut out of the world's music. Aurelian slid across the ice, momentum finally spent. The broadsword dissolved into light. He fell. Kuragami fell as well, his body collapsing inward, shadow imploding, divine power tearing itself apart as the name of Nagini unraveled into silence. What remained struck the ice once and was gone. The battlefield went still. No thunder, no hum, only drifting ash and settling frost. The priests began a new song, soft, reverent. They sang of the second coming, of sacrifice misunderstood, of a knight who burned himself into legend. One by one they turned away, voices fading as they departed across the ruined world. The ice sealed, the lava slept. Far below the battlefield, beneath sound, beneath light, beneath even death, Sir Aurelian Vale awoke. There was no pain, no body, only blackness, and somewhere in that infinite dark, a single string vibrated, still alive, still waiting. Thank you for sticking to the end and listening to this epic fantasy story. Do not forget to click the link in the description to give some love to the author. Go and check out some of their other works. I know they would appreciate it. So if you have any stories you want to share, feel free to email me, DM me on Twitter, or any other social media. All my links are in the description. So until next time, collect those stories, because you never know when they'll be your saving grace.